Players. So Abby Phillips brought Byron on her show again last night. In my opinion, she did it again, honey. Earned her title as the GOAT because every time she brings a Magamite on her show, she hits them with the actual factual. And I'm going to keep it a stack with you. I was here for it all. Event where he was talking about black families and Jim Crow. Now, he implied that the black family was stronger during the Jim Crow era because black families were together and they voted conservatively. So Abby Phillips asked him about this comparison. Y'all put it in the comments if y'all understand this comparison more, as if black families were doing so much better in the Jim Crow era. She also asked him why black families are always used as an example when we talk about welfare. Why is it black families? When statistically speaking, more white families receive welfare than black families. Y'all watch this clip and I'll see you on the other side.
What was the point of tying together the black family and Jim Crow specifically? I mean, Jim Crow, as you know, was a period of racial segregation, of racial terror. Why would you make that connection?
All I was doing was referring to the time periods when you talk about the historical timelines in America and coinciding with black family.
The thing I really want to just get you to address is there were a lot of people who heard what you had to say, and a lot of them are offended by the idea that you would repeat Jim Crow 3 times in your comments as if to suggest that that was a time period because that black families were, in your words, together, because, in your words, black people were not just more conservative, they voted more conservatively. That's a good thing. I mean, it sounds like nostalgia. Do you regret using that time frame as a reference?
Nobody ever made nostalgia. That was never the point. It wasn't even about that. So where now I'm gonna get my backup is I didn't say that. I didn't even insinuate that.
What didn't you insinuate?
The premise of your question, I did not insinuate. That is what people are trying to weave into what I said. What I said is crystal clear.
You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together. During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people always have been conservative-minded, but more black people voted conservatively. And then HEW, Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road.
This idea that you said it was better, you didn't use the words better, but when you talk about that time period, you're suggesting that because the black family was together, they were better off than they are now.
See, this is the problem, Abby.
So are you saying that that's not the case? That the black family was not better off when they were, in your words, together?
Abby, let me put it
in the
like
Jim
this.
Crow era.
Let's agree on something. I am, obviously one of the better communicators in the Republican Party. I know how to put words together.
Making a comparison, you're saying the black family was together then, they're not together now, and you're using that to try to say that things are bad now. Well, first of all, let me just set the table here. By pretty much every available measure, black families, black individuals in this country are better off today than they were during Jim Crow. Would you agree with that?
Abby, of course I would. I'm not making that point. And
It's striking to me that this conversation about the family, about who is the recipient of government benefits, about who was affected by Lyndon B. Johnson's Great Society, why is it that that conversation only happens to black people? When white people are on welfare, when white people are recipients of these programs too, when white people have broken families as well, why is this a message that is always directed at black Americans?
I didn't say that at all. I think that's what you're insinuating. But let me.
I mean, that's what you did. You were trying to recruit black voters for President Trump.
Am I allowed to answer the question? Let me step into that. Okay, a couple of things. Yes, Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, if you look at the empirical data, was destructive in part, and I said even in my comments yesterday in Philadelphia, in part to black families throughout the United States of America. You also had some of the very damaging policies around the criminal justice system and the public policies so that all people can thrive. And if you're actually going to compare economic policies and public policies between the 45th president and the 46th president, it's without question they were better under the 45th.
Well, look, I mean,
so if you're going to examine today, Abby, if you're going to examine today in America and where we're going as Americans, then you have to have the right set of economic policies and the right set of public policies. I mean, Abby, you've been interrupting me the entire interview. I'm just trying to have a conversation.
I'm going to interrupt you on the facts, Congressman. The black unemployment rate was the lowest in American history under Joe Biden just last year. The poverty rate for black people is the lowest under Joe Biden. So you cannot say empirically for black people that from a financial level, things were better under Trump. There are other ways that you can make this case, but you cannot say that.
Actually, let me respond to that. Because the economic reality is that even though unemployment might be lower, wages adjusted for inflation, which is the true measure of getting ahead in America.
Plans, in my opinion, his explanation is a crock of bullshit. I mean, he leans on the fact that he didn't exactly use the word better, and I'll give him that. He didn't. However, he implied that the black family was stronger during the Jim Crow era, so they voted conservatively. Now, that would imply that they were doing better when they voted for the conservative policies. However, statistically speaking, 55% of black people were in poverty. I don't think during that time they were sitting around their round table discussing how to create generational wealth for their families. I think that they were discussing surviving. Even when they got the opportunity to create businesses and whole towns and like Tulsa and all that stuff, baby, it was destroyed. They were talking about surviving, not how they voted for these conservative policies and that those policies helped them. The correlation is false and it makes no sense to me. But I want to know what you all think. Put it in the comments.